Hello and welcome to our honest review of the Alpha Flight Control's Honeycomb Aeronautical USB PC Flight Simulator Flight Yoke. In this video we're going to tell you all the good things about this and the one really bad thing about this. This video is sponsored by Antlion Audio's Mod Mic USB, their latest mod mic. Now mod mics are microphones that you can put on your headphones that don't have a microphone. This allows you to keep using your favourite headphones whilst recording high quality audio. If you want to know more about the Mod Mic USB, make sure you click the link in the description. Now, on with the video. Now, your average YouTube channel would string you along and not let you know what the bad point is until the end of the video, but this is the Gamer Muscle YouTube channel. Logo on the mug there, where we drink copious amounts of tea and we get straight to the point and just let you know what you want to know. So, the bad thing about this device is that it has a pretty bad dead zone, specifically for the left-right movement of the yoke. It also has a dead zone for the in and out, but it's not really as problematic or as noticeable, and I think it's a smaller dead zone. So to show the dead zone off, we've got the we've obviously plugged this in through USB, and we've got the Windows on the screen there, and we've also got X-Plane 11, which I've removed all the filters from and set it up so it's one-to-one in the simulator. And you'll notice here, when we rotate it, that there's a fair amount of movement there before Windows even picks anything up. Now it's about 2 or 3 mil of movement left and right, a couple of degrees, but the problem with that is that when you're flying as something like a Cessna or the light aircraft that you use flight yokes with, you're normally doing a lot of very fine, small adjustments in that zone where there is no input from this. So that is basically a total failure from Alpha Flight Controls. What I would say, though, is that in theory, the potentiometers, which measure the movement of this, should be able to pick it up. Both the in and out and the left and right, they should be able to pick up that movement without the dead zone, and it should just be a case of the firmware being updated on the device to expose those movements for your computer to be able to see them. So what I'm going to say is, in the top comment underneath this video, in the description, in the description and on the top comment, I'll pin a top comment. If Alpha Flight Controls update the firmware for this and have a fix for this, I will put in capital letters dead zone fixed. Because if they fix that dead zone issue, this is an absolutely bloody phenomenal device. Because it's literally only the dead zone that's a problem with this. The build quality is amazing. From the actual plastic finish and the way it's kind of matted off, it feels like some kind of stealth bomber aircraft thing. No radars are going to pick this up. The ergonomics, like how it feels in your hands, the position, like having all the buttons on it, a bunch of the main buttons that you would use for like a Cessna, starting the engine, the lights and things, and just having them there on a yoke. Maybe you've already got other buttons, but for the type of people buying this, just having that there as a solution, you're pretty much ready to go to jump into flight sims and get that enjoyable flight sim experience and get a ton of extra immersion actually using a controller that matches the plane that you're using in the simulator. Also, all the buttons actually feel really nice, high quality as well in terms of how they click, and all the buttons and stuff on the actual yoke part of the controller as well are positioned really nicely and all work exactly as you'd expect. I would say, though, actually, contrary to what I just said there, the ergonomics for the hat and the top button are a little bit off, but it's not really a problem. When you're flying a plane, the way you hold the controller, it doesn't actually matter. We're not playing Call of Duty with this. Maybe one day. So another thing that's really awesome with this is it comes with a table clamp out of the box, and you can just mount this clamp to like your rig or your desk and then slide the actual yoke on and off, or you can just leave the clamp on the yoke, and then just when you want to use your desk with this, you just slide it on and you can screw it to your table, which is just absolutely fantastic. Again, for the type of people likely to buy this, I think it's this is probably the cheapest decent yoke, apart from the dead zone thing, which I hope they fix, on the market. So it's people that, they're not necessarily people that are going to buy or spend multiple hundreds of pounds, thousands of pounds on flight sim equipment. You just stick it on your desk, and there you go. You're ready. You're ready to go flying and enjoy the Cessna experience. That said, let's get in the flight simulator and let's get flying, and let's talk about another absolutely awesome thing. If you've got X-Plane 11 and you've got this controller, you just plug it in using the single USB cable, no power cable, just plug it in, and the simulator has it all like set up automatically. All the buttons are bound exactly to what they should be bound to. No real fiddling required from the user to just buy this, plug it in, and start flying. Which, again, for the type of audience this is for, it accommodates everyone, but I think the real appeal of this is spot on. Now, I would say you need to it is worth adjusting the control sensitivity on here. Now, there's reasons why you might not want to have this be totally linear like I do, so that everything lines up. But that's too complicated for this video. We'll go into that in another video. Personally, I just like everything to line up 1-to-1. That makes sense to me. It's what I've done with all my controllers in all simulators. I just like that. So if you want everything to line up 1-to-1, just need to make sure that these are all turned to 0. By default, they're on like 50 or something, and so it's a non-linear curve, which might make things easier in some ways, but I don't like it. So once you've done that, you're basically ready to go. It's all there, all set up. Let's go flying. Now, let's turn the engine on here using the... well, first of all, you need to turn the batteries on. And then you can use the dial here. Unfortunately, it's still back to front. I think the flight sim, the X-Plane 11 devs are aware of this. So... They I'm sure that'll be improved at some point. And it's worth me saying that I don't have any rudder pedals at the moment. Normally, I use a joystick on my driving simulator rig, and I use the foot pedals for the yaw of the aircraft. With this, I'm using on my desk. Obviously, I don't have any rudder pedals. I've flown a real Cessna briefly, and I've used the Thrustmaster rudder pedals, which I thought were absolutely awesome, so I might get some of them and I might try and review them. But the reason why I'm letting you know this is because we're likely to just launch ourselves off the runway without any rudder control due to the engine torque turning the plane. That's the downside of realistic flight simulators. So let's get the flaps set to the right setting here, and we can use the hat to look down. I'm going to have to use the mouse to control the throttle. One thing I would say as well, actually, is unfortunately this doesn't actually have a throttle on it. So you really, that forces you to kind of use your mouse to activate stuff in the cockpit, which might not actually be a bad solution. But if you don't want to really use the mouse at all, well, actually just flying these sort of Cessnas and things, just flying casually inside, flight seeing, what I would do is I would compromise the roll trim. I'd change the roll trim option and use that for the throttle in the aircraft, because you don't really need to use roll trim in the simulators. You definitely do need to use the actual pitch trim and the yaw trim though. But yeah, let's get going now. I'm going to power up. I'm going to hold the brake down. I'm going to power up, and hopefully we can go off in a straight line. But I really don't think we will. So who knows? We might run into a building or something. There we go. Maybe if I'd powered up slower, it would have had less of an effect. But too late. We're off. There she goes. Yep, we're going. Okay, it's fine. Don't worry. Sick bags are located underneath the seat. Oh, it's all right. We'll make it before hitting that fence. And ching! Straight through the fence. Highly realistic simulation there. We've just failed our flight test, but it's all right for the purpose of this video. Who cares? So you can zoom in and out using the well, it would be for the trim. You have two trim buttons here. I believe the reason you have two buttons for trim is for redundancy. So if you've got I think it's if you get a runaway trim, you've got another button. Well, if it breaks, you've got a redundant button. Basically, you have a lot of redundancy on a plane for stuff that's vital. So You don't really need to use both of them on the flight yoke because this isn't real life. We're not going to die if the plane crashes. So one of the trim buttons is used for zooming in and out, which is really handy. We can set that, which is great. And we just use the hat to look around, and all is fantastic. We do seem to have a bit of yaw going on it. Let's try and neaten it up using the old triangle on the dash here. Right, try and get in there. Come on. Right, it's a little bit off, but come on. Come on. No. Come on. Straighten up those triangles. We've got to pretend they were in Egyptian. There we go. Sorted. That'll do. I'm happy with that. So it's really satisfying using a flight yoke. If you're someone that's normally used like a joystick, it's really satisfying using the flight yoke to actually set the trim and stuff depending on what speed you're going at. And that's quite, from my experience, that seems to be something that you're doing quite a lot in a real Cessna. And it's probably for actual simulation utility. Having all that line up and be one-to-one with the sim is going to mean that you're going to be more prepared if you then go to real life, and you don't want to have to unlearn having used the wrong flight controllers at home. Obviously, if you're using this as a game device, you're playing flight sims as a game, and you're not ever going to do the real thing, it doesn't really matter. But I just feel that this really, using this flight yoke really connected me way more to the sim and the simulation experience than when I used the my X55 HOTAS controller to play flight simulators. And of course, the massive thing with this, apart from the dead zone issue, the massive thing with this is the extra precision that you get from using a flight yoke. Like the amount, even though the actual degrees of input on this aren't as impressive as some of the other flight yokes on the market, you do get a really, really nice amount of precision for the up and down control of the aircraft, but also the left and right control of the aircraft. Aside from that dead zone, do you know what? I'm going to actually show the dead zone off more clearly here. I think we can do it in this situation. Might make it even more obvious so you can get an idea of it. I'm not going to shut up about this dead zone thing. I really want Honeycomb to fix it because it's literally the dead zone. The dead zone conspiracy. Let's take some speed off there. Is the only thing that's holding this controller back from being an absolutely superb controller. Okay, let's come on. Stunt flying with Game of Muscle here. Right, there we go. Not sure why the video capture is bugging out there, but let's get the Windows input on the screen again. There you go. So this should make it really clear. So what happens often is, if you've flown a real Cessna, a real plane, a lot of the input is happening in this. Like when I was flying the plane, a lot of the input happens in this range, this tiny, tiny central range, where maybe it's partly if you're overflying the plane and you're just making loads of little adjustments that are kind of unnecessarily, kind of just chilling out and let the plane go where it goes and then make the necessary adjustments is probably a better way of flying. But it's just really fun. It's just really fun as a pilot of an aircraft to just try and get the plane as trim, as steady as possible, as absolute precise as possible, holding it, slightly adjusting for the little buffets of wind and things. And not having that dead zone just removes that possibility from doing that in the sim, which is just a real shame, because using this flight yoke with X-Plane 11, with the extra precision you get from it, really actually highlights the raw fidelity of X-Plane 11 and how nuanced and deep the physics are and how subtle the physics are. And then it's like you get that, but then you can't really fully take advantage of it when you're flying in calmer days because you've got that dead zone there. I also find with the dead zone, it really disconnects you. So when you're coming in for landing and you're again making those really tiny corrections to be as smooth as possible, because you're probably playing it as a game as much as you are a simulator, so you're just trying to just do things as precise as possible. The dead zone kicks in and you're like, you then overcompensate left or right to make up for the dead zone, and you also just feel disconnected because what's happening on the screen isn't what's happening with your hand controllers. I'd imagine it's going to be even worse if you fly in VR as well, which I've not tried with this flight yoke. Something I will do in the future. But more dead zone complaining out of the way. As I say, look at the description. Hopefully they fix that with a firmware update. What we should talk about here is the actual so the actual smoothness of the input in terms of the spring for the turning. There's no dampening in this, which is absolutely amazing. With the real Cessna that I've flown, the actual input had more dampening in it, and it felt really sluggish and pretty horrible, actually. In many ways, worse than the Satec flight yoke. But in a real plane, you've got G-forces. It kind of makes sense. It kind of connects up anyway, even though the inputs in a real plane might have stiction and dampening and be a bit sluggish. It doesn't matter because you're totally connected to the aircraft through G-forces. But with a game controller, it really does matter, and it really does get in the way of input. And the actual feel of this, both the left and right, and the amount of force that requires is, in my opinion, totally superb and absolutely perfect. And also the feel for the spring for the up and down movements, again, just a really nice amount of force. I'd say it's probably feels about 2 Newton meters of force. It's not a linear force in and out. It's kind of like initially it's more force and it kind of builds a little bit, but it's sort of 2 or 3 Newton meters of pull required. It just feels great, absolutely fantastic. And the actual pulling back and how the way that the actual force comes through the controller, again, it's not force feedback, it's just a spring. In some ways emulates the kind of feel of the build-up when you do it in a real aircraft. So well done, Honeycomb, on that. I absolutely love how that feels, and it really just nails that and just feels precise and superb to use. Let's get this back off the screen and we'll just go back to our normal view. There we go. Bold reflection head cam. Oh no, I've just burnt a hole in the webcam. Oh well. Let's get that on there. Let's turn that off. Okay, so yeah, I mean, there's an LED light on the front of it, which you can push a button on the back to control the brightness of it. I think the LED light's a little bit cheesy, but you know, it lets you see things and it's glowing. It's an LED. You can't choose the colour though. It's not RGB, but you know, it's worth saying. Why not? What other things are there on this that I really need to bring up in this video? There's the mount points on top, which you can, you know, that's all stuff you can just check on the website. If you want to know just the raw features, the back of the box features, just go to the Honeycomb website. But you can mount displays and things on here, and it's all set up nicely for that. Outside of that, I mean, yeah, if it wasn't for the dead zone issue, this would literally be the best flight yoke that I've personally used. Infinitely better than the flight yoke done by Satec, like on another level. And to be honest, I would, even with the dead zone that this has, I would rather use this than the Satec flight yoke. So it still beats that out with the current dead zone issues. It's a shame it just doesn't have a throttle on it as well. If it had a throttle on it and it didn't have the dead zone, this would literally be like the heavenly flight yoke. Maybe a little bit of high resolution sensor as well. But for its price and what it does, apart from the dead zone, absolutely fantastic. Let's put the flaps back down a bit here. We'll land it. We'll land it and probably break our legs in the process. I really think this is probably, I mean, in terms of looking at the marketplace for flight yokes based off the price of them, this is still the only real option available. So I would still recommend it. It's just a shame. Just that one issue's a shame. Where's the old airport? There we go. There's the runway. Nice and smooth. Coming in way too slow here. Get ready for a crash landing, guys. But the precision that gets you for the actual bringing it in and bringing it in smoothly, and the way that lines up with my experience of doing this in real life, absolutely great. Fandidly-dastic. Get ready, we're about to Mayday, emergency landing. I don't know what we're doing here. Don't mind me. Let's probably zoom in a bit here. I mean, this is like this is a butter day here. We're coming in way too slow. Stall it on, hit the fence. I mean, we hit the fence on the takeoff, so why not hit it on the landing? Right, where's the bottom of the aircraft? Oh, there we go. That's why we need a motion rig and force feedback. I couldn't even feel that there was no sound. I couldn't tell that we'd hit the ground. I mean, as a total, that was pretty smooth, I have to say. I mean, the up and down motion is perfectly fine. It's just that left and right. It's just that left and right. But let's watch a replay of that landing to see how well we did there. Check out the landing, boys and girls. How much did we butcher it? Of course, I'm using Orbex scenery here, True Earth Britain. I've got the whole of Britain installed. That's why we've got like photo stuff here. I've turned some of the details down just to get things to run nice and smooth. For evaluating the controller, I don't want the frame rate dropping. If your frame rate's actually going lower in games, it will affect your input and precision, so you kind of do want to keep the frame rate up. So let's see how smooth we were on the landing here. Whoop. You can rate me in the... did we hit the fence? No, we missed the fence. Totally on purpose. Glide it in. Ah, look at... that looked like that was ridiculous. I mean, aspects of that landing were a bit weird and off, but... that's about as smooth as it gets, guys. I don't think you can do it smoother than that. So that's the power. That's the power of a flight yoke. Pixel perfect. So I mean that's a pretty good point, I think, to end this video. As I say, I would highly recommend getting this as long as you are aware of the dead zone. Until they fix the dead zone, as I say, it kind of does kill it. It does kill the point of it, but as you can see, we can still land perfectly fine, and you can still use an input device. Maybe I was a bit too controversial at the start of the video. It's just that one thing. That one thing would make it perfect. But if you are interested in getting one, I'll put a link underneath the video to our Amazon link on this. If you buy it through Amazon, then that's an affiliate link, so I benefit from that. Thank you. But you can also buy this from the Alpha Flight Controls website as well. There's other places you can get it from. Don't think you can buy it from Amazon in America, so you just have to get it from there anyway. But in UK, you get it from Amazon. But yeah, let me know in the comments any questions you've got. I will do an updated video on this in the future, hopefully if they fix that issue, and I'll try and answer any of your questions in that. And of course we do live streaming on here all the time, so we'll be doing some flight sim stuff, especially when Microsoft Flight Sim 2020 comes out, so you'll be able to ask questions then. I'll just answer them on the fly. But hopefully you found this useful, and if you did, make sure you click that subscribe button, make sure you click the like button, and I will see you guys all very soon indeed. But until then, happy tea drinking and goodbye.